A campaign has been launched to give everyone living in the UK the right to vote in elections, regardless of their citizenship. Currently, Commonwealth and Irish nationals are the only non-British citizens allowed to vote here. The campaign, Let Us Vote, backed by MPs, peers and NGOs, was started by anti-Brexit and pro-EU groups, but insists it is neutral on Brexit. The proposals would also extend to Britons living abroad. The campaign estimates 10 million people resident in the UK and living overseas are prevented from voting in elections. The last major change to the franchise was in 1969, when the voting age was lowered from 21 to 18. But should all UK residents get the vote? Well, to debate this, I'm now joined by UKIP General Secretary and Immigration Spokesman Paul Oakley and constitutional law expert Nigel Toft. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for coming in this Friday. Paul, if I could start with you. Well, if you live in a country, shouldn't you have a say?
No, you shouldn't. In fact, we would get rid of the concept of European citizens having the right to stand and vote in EU elections in their country of residence. It's appalling that the elections in the United Kingdom have been tainted by people who are pro-EU. But it never stops. I wasn't aware of this campaign before. We knew that the Remain side would fight a dirty referendum, which they did. It didn't stop after that. We had the Gina Miller court case, the push for a loser's vote, and then, of course, we've got a parliament which is dominated by Remain MPs. So this campaign is supposed to be neutral. It's nothing of the sort. It's got 6 MPs backing it at the moment, including David Lammy, who is not exactly known for being neutral on the issue of Brexit. And one of the campaign groups which is backing this is called Another Europe is Possible, which is opposed to the softest possible Brexit. They want a second referendum. Now, it's really not difficult to work out. These people are wolves in wolves' clothing. They want to betray Brexit, and UKIP certainly will do all that it can to stop them.
Well, Nigel, a strong case there. What do you think?
Well, I'd start from the time-honoured concept that there should be no taxation without representation. I mean, it was an idea that first came up in the American Revolution. It was the fact that the British Crown wanted to tax people living in the American colonies and granting them no representation, and that led to that problem. Times haven't changed. I think if people are living here and are resident, we're not talking about people who are just coming for holiday, people who are resident here, therefore paying taxes, and even if not income tax, then taxes in the form of VAT, they should have a say in how their money is spent, surely. And I also think that we're all in favour of democracy. I thought the problem really was that not enough people voted. Well, I think it's very sad when one sees the number of people that vote in elections, how many people do not bother to vote. So why we should try and stop people resident here from participating in our society, I really cannot imagine.
Well, that's a fair point, isn't it? Paying taxes, working, contributing to society that they live in. 10 million people. It's a lot of people, Paul.
No. We reject the whole concept of free movement, full stop. So we are not happy with all these European citizens coming over here as they please. And I wouldn't go too far down the route of referring back to the American War of Independence, because the main push there was that the American colonists were being ruled by an overseas and distant authority, and they had no power. So I really wouldn't push that too far. But absolutely not. This is simply another attempt to overturn the Brexit referendum. And I just wish these people would accept the fact that in the biggest democratic exercise of our history, 52% voted to leave, and they are not being given what they voted for.
But EU citizens, they do vote in local elections, don't they? So why not national ones?
They can vote in local elections, they can vote in European elections. And it's European elections that your party has had representatives elected. However,
yes,
you haven't
exactly.
had any elected in domestic elections, which this debate is about. But I really do think that there are so many issues which somebody might be concerned about the health service. You might have somebody working here as a doctor for 20 years, not taking British citizenship, but working here for 20 years as a doctor, paying taxes, if he's a doctor, considerable amount of taxes, and is not able to have a say in the way the health service is run. Nothing to do with Brexit. You might have someone here concerned about the education of their children, living here for a number of years. Surely they have a right to participate in society, have a say in how their children are educated. Now, it is quite a different matter altogether from the discussion we're having now, Paul. It is quite different if you say we should have no foreign immigration at all.
No, we're not saying that
You can argue that.
What absolute nonsense.
Well, in that case...
We're not saying that at all. No. But I tell you what, let's be clear. We're not talking about people having a vote on how often their bins are emptied or how often their streets are cleaned or even which MP represents them in Parliament. There is a real push for a loser's vote, a second referendum now. And the whole idea of this is to make sure that EU citizens, not British citizens, will vote in favour of overturning the vote in 2016.
Can I just come in there, Per?
Well, it's plain and obvious.
But let's also look at the fact that expats, if you live abroad, you've lived abroad up to 15 years, you can still vote and you're no longer here. So why not the flip? People who do live here.
You can, and people who've been abroad for more than 15 years, quite rightly, no longer have a vote, because if they've gone abroad, they've become assimilated in their new countries, they become citizens of that country, and that's perfectly right and proper. No problem with that at all.
Well, also, I'd rather argue your contention that people living here with a foreign origin would necessarily support Remain. Last night I happened to listen to the BBC programme Question Time. There was a lady on that, a Russian lady.
A Russian, yes, I liked her.
Who spoke strongly in favour of Brexit. She was Russian. I happen to know that many Commonwealth citizens here who can vote, of Bangladeshi origin, strongly supported Brexit.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
So it is quite erroneous to think that just because you come from abroad, you're going to support our continued membership of the European Union.
But why now, Nigel? Why now, Nigel? It's precisely because Parliament is pushing for another extension of Article 50. Lots of politicians are arguing for a second referendum. You want this now because you want to overturn
you don't know what my views on Brexit are. You do not know
I do, because I Googled you beforehand.
Well, in that case, you'd know that my views are changeable, very changeable. I've not been a member of any particular group. They're changeable. I'm open to discussion on the matter. However,
Good. Well,
I would say that this issue has come up not because of Brexit. It has become up because of what we see as a dysfunctional democracy. Parliament is not working.
Absolutely.
The country has become an embarrassment.
Unfortunately,
I do not.
Yes, with a Remainer Parliament,
it has become an embarrassment.